So this all gets more and more beautiful every time I come in it. Yeah. So I really congratulate the Vimalakirti community for coming together and creating this. And you're still in the process of construction. And Sravasti Abbey has just completed almost our Buddha Hall. So we know a little bit about the trials and tribulations of construction. So you've been doing construction for many years. It's difficult, but you've all hung together, and it's creating a beautiful Dharma space where so many people can come and learn the Dharma and practice it. So thank you. Okay. So, before we do the opening prayers, I just want to introduce what we're going to do tonight. So the topic I was asked to teach on is something that is definitely a favorite topic of mine. In fact, I've been writing a book about it, and the book will be published. They said maybe this early 2027. Yeah. So the topic is the King of Prayers. So this is the prayer of Samantabhadra, which I will describe a little bit about. And it's this incredible prayer that is done in Chinese Buddhism, also Tibetan Buddhism. I think it's also in Korean Buddhism. So it's this prayer. It's the end of at the end of the Avatamsaka Sutra, and when you recite it and really contemplate it, it makes your heart just open like this, and it makes your perspective open like this, because so often in our life, our perspective is like this, teeny, and our perspective is focused one pointed on me. Meanwhile, there's not only over 7 billion human beings on this planet, but there's animals and insects. There's countless sentient beings throughout the universe. Yeah. And so when we just focus like this, everything in our life becomes of stupendous importance. Yeah. More important than anything else, because it's all about me. And that actually results in our being very unhappy. Yeah, because we become just overly sensitive about everything that relates to us. And one small thing we don't like becomes, in our mind, as big as a national catastrophe, which is a little bit unrealistic. So this prayer opens us up to countless sentient beings, infinite Buddhas, a universe that has no limits. Yeah. And when we open our mind and our heart in that way, it really changes us. We become so much more tolerant, so much more peaceful, much more accepting of things. Okay, and I want to start telling you all about it, but we got to do the prayers first. And I should warn you that the topic, was for one night's talk, and it's impossible to talk about this prayer in one night. So I will just give you a little bit of an introduction to it, okay? And we'll get through a few verses of it, okay? And then when the book's published, you can read the rest. And, we can also schedule more talks here to describe it, because it's really so inspiring. Okay, so let's start out with taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. And since we're about to go into the prayer recited by the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, let's cultivate the same motivation, the same intention that he had when he spoke this prayer. And that intention is one of great compassion that is spread equally to each and every sentient being, omitting none of them. And based on that compassion, we then aspire to attain full awakening so that we can lead all sentient beings out of samsara and into the bliss of full awakening. So take a moment and cultivate that motivation. And then slowly come out of your meditation. So I'm going to read a little bit from the manuscript of the book. So you are getting the secret transmission of it that only the publisher has now. Okay, so the prayer was spoken by Samantabhadra, and his name means, it can be translated in several ways. One is universal good, or always good, okay, or pure conduct. Yeah, there's a number of translations. Or what is universally good. Okay, so what is universally good is the bodhicitta motivation that we just cultivated. And so this prayer of aspirations is one that is made by bodhisattvas, by people who have that aspiration to become a Buddha for the benefit of all beings. So it's we have to elevate our mind a little bit when we read it, and pull ourselves out of just our own little troubles from today. So it's about bodhisattvas who are practitioners who have generated and practiced bodhicitta. And it's talking about their aspirations. Yeah. What do they aspire to do, to see, to feel? So following the bodhisattva path like this involves transforming what we think, what we feel, what we say, what we do. And it involves having a big picture, and really making every moment of our life part of our Dharma practice, part of our spiritual practice. Okay, so often our minds are stuck in thinking about things from the past or thinking about things in the future. What do you think? True or not true? Yeah, we ruminate about things that happened in the past. Oh no, did I say the right thing? Did I make a blunder? We ruminate about things of the future. Is my boss going to criticize me? Are my children going to do okay? So we're very seldom actually paying attention to what's happening now. Okay, but now is the only time we have to practice the Dharma. We can ruminate about the past and have regrets. We can ruminate about the future and feel afraid of it or feel joyful, expecting things in it. But none of that is happening now. So to really engage in the Bodhisattva deeds, we have an awareness of the past and future, but our mind does not ruminate over it. Okay. Because, like I said, the only time we can practice Dharma is right now. So we have to pay attention to what we're saying and doing and thinking and feeling in this moment. Okay. And so that involves whoever we are with, that person is the object of our Dharma practice. Okay. So if you're walking your dog, your attention is on your dog. And it's not just walking the dog. Think about what it's like to be born a dog. Do you want to be born a dog? Oh, but they're so cute. They're so cuddly. In Singapore, they get pampered, except when their owner yanks them back. Yeah. What do you think? A dog's life is not fun. It's overwhelmed by ignorance. Yeah. So we have to have compassion. We want to have compassion for the beings who are born dogs. But we ourselves don't want to create the cause for ourselves to be born as a dog. Okay. So when we're going through this aspiration prayer, what he talks about a lot are things that are really unimaginable to us. Okay, so this, the Avatamsaka Sutra, which in the translation from Chinese comes out as the Flower Adornment Sutra, but the translation from the Tibetan is quite different. I'll get to that. And in the Avatamsaka, it's one of the hugest things in the Buddha's canon. Yeah, it takes many, many volumes, and it's actually a compilation of many different sutras. Yeah, and the very last sutra in this compilation is called the Gandavyuha Sutra, which the title can be translated as the array of stems or the array of trees. We don't really know why that is the title of the of the sutra, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so at the very end of the Avatamsaka, you have the Gandavyuha Sutra. At the very end of that, the conclusion of this enormous Avatamsaka Sutra is this aspiration period by Samantabhadra. Okay, so it's kind of like taking all the Bodhisattva practices that are explained in the Avatamsaka and synthesizing them into 63 verses. Yeah. Okay. So let me. So actually, it starts out saying, "I bow down to the youthful Arya Manjushri." So this was not part of what Samantabhadra said. That opening line, it's in the Tibetan translation. And what it is, it has to do with how the Tibetans categorize different teachings. Yeah, whether they're Vinaya, whether they are the Vinaya basket, the Sutra basket, or the wisdom, the Abhidharma basket. Okay. So Arya Manjushri is the Buddha of wisdom. But I think this prayer actually is referring more to him as a bodhisattva. Yeah. And so it's found in the Sutra Pitaka. Okay. So in our world, we'll put it this way. The Gandavyuha is an adventure story. Can you imagine an adventure story in the scriptures? When we think of adventures, we think of somebody sailing the sea into the unknown, flying into space, fighting off all sorts of enemies, getting stuck in difficulties, but being heroic and finding their way out. This is not that kind of adventure story. Yeah, they're not going to make an action film out of this. It's an adventure story of our mind. Yeah. And like most adventure stories, it takes us into unknown territory. It takes us out of our present environment into the mental space of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Okay. And the hero of the story, when the story starts out, he is a young man, okay, called Sudana, and he is the child of a prominent merchant in town. We'll get yeah. Okay. So the Gandavyuha Sutra begins with the Buddha, okay? And he's surrounded by a great assembly of bodhisattvas, shravakas, and monastics. And it takes place in the Jetavana Grove of Sravasti, which our monastery is named after, or called Sravasti Abbey. So the Buddha is sitting in samadhi. He emanates light from his forehead that enables the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas in his audience to see countless Buddha fields. So a Buddha field is an environment that a Buddha establishes where all the Bodhisattvas can come and receive teachings directly from the Buddhas. Wouldn't that be cool? Can you imagine sitting in the presence of the Buddha and receiving teachings? And the audience, is a bunch of high-level bodhisattvas. Whoa. Okay. So that's how the sutra opens. And, by emanating this light, the Buddhas, the bodhisattvas see countless Buddha fields, and with great joy in return, they emanate countless manifestations. Are you getting a feeling of how huge what we're talking about here? Okay. And the Buddha doesn't speak during the whole Gandharva Sutra. Okay. So he's just meditating there. And the Bodhisattva Manjushri is part of the audience, but he departs for southern India. And hearing that Manjushri, the Bodhisattva, is at that town, all the residents of the town go out to pay respect to them. And among them is this young man. Yeah. We don't really know how old he is. He could be a teenager, a young adult, something like that. And he goes out with everybody else to see Manjushri. And Manjushri, when he sees Sudana, praises him and describes the wondrous events that happened when Sudana was born. And he gave a short teaching on the nature of the Buddhas. And when the Sudana requests Manjushri to teach more, Manjushri directs him to cultivate the Bodhisattva deeds by receiving live teachings from other Bodhisattvas. Okay, so Manjushri then advises Sudana to avoid becoming lazy and lax or complacent in his journey to the Bodhisattva path, but to continue practicing the Dharma with great compassion for all living beings. And then Manjushri sends him out to find good teachers that he can study with. We all need good teachers. Okay, so Sudana sets out on his spiritual search alone. And this indicates for us that our spiritual search, too, is actually alone. We may do it together with our Dharma friends, but it means we have to do our own study. We have to do our own meditation. Nobody else can do it for us. So we're alone in that respect. So it's like eating and sleeping. We cannot hire anybody to do it for us. It doesn't work. So similarly, generating all the realizations of the path is something we have to do ourselves. Yeah. Okay, so Sudana sets out, and Manjushri directs him first to seek out the Bhikshu Megashri. And so Sudana goes, he requests teachings from Venerable Megashri, who then describes his experience of seeing Tathagatas in all directions. Yeah. Do you see Tathagatas in all directions? Do you even see a Tathagata in one direction? No, we're pretty obscured. But the first teacher Sudana goes to has this realization. Everywhere he looks, look, all these Buddhas on that pillar, on that pillar. If we look, there's actually in this room Buddhas all around us. Yeah. Or at least statues of Buddhas all around us. I don't even know if we could count them. It would take us a pretty long time. Okay. So he goes off, and Megashri shows this to him, and then says, but my knowledge is really limited. I can't teach you the whole path. So Megashri then sends Sudana off to another teacher who is also a monk. His name is Sagaramega, who gives him a teaching and then also says, but my knowledge is limited, and sends him off to another person. And Sudana goes there, finds that person, receives a teaching from him, then he encourages him and sends him off to the next teacher. Okay, so among the teachers, and he's going to have 53 teachers by the time you get to the end of the sutra. Okay, so he's among these teachers. They're not all monks. Yeah, some are men, some are women, some are monastics, some are lay followers, some are beggars, some are royalty, some are prostitutes. He takes teachings from a prostitute. He takes teachings from humble workers, from goddesses, from people who are handicapped, people who are very fit, young people, old people. A whole range of people can be teachers. So this is really, emphasizing to us not to look so much at the outside appearance or social status of a teacher, but to really look at their ethical conduct, their bodhicitta, their wisdom, and screen them well. And if they're realized, take teachings for them, request them for teachings. So of these 53 gurus that Sudana is going to have, and this is going to take him many years. Okay, so he starts out young. We don't know how old he is by the end of the sutra, but definitely older. Okay, so his 51st teacher is Maitreya. Okay, and Maitreya tells Sudana that after his death, he will take rebirth into Shida and then come to earth as a wheel-turning Buddha. Okay, so that's the teaching that Maitreya gives Sudana. Then Maitreya sends Sudana to see Manjushri, who, although at that time was actually far away, reaches out his hand and puts it on Sudana's head. Okay, I don't, I think he must be further away than this, maybe on the other side of the planet. But Manjushri reaches out his hand, puts it on Sudana's head, blesses him, and teaches him so that he will gain all the realizations and attainments of the path. At that point, Sudana has an astonishing vision of Samantabhadra. And in each pore of Samantabhadra's body, he sees all worlds throughout the universe in every eon, past, present, and future. Can you see anything like that? Yeah. And each pore, all your little pores in the cells, yeah, to see all the universe, not one universe, all the universes, yeah. And he sees also the rising and ceasing of world systems, the rising and ceasing of all sentient beings, and the activities of all the bodhisattvas in all these worlds, in all three times, the past, present, and future. Okay, so this is all in each pore of Samantabhadra's body. Sudana sees this. Okay. Then, after that, my Manjushri refers Sudana to actually go to where Samantabhadra is and request teachings. And so he's Sudana's 53rd spiritual mentor. And he reminds Sudana that the purpose of gaining wisdom is to share it with others so that their lives become more meaningful and to lead them out of the prison of samsara. So often, in our Dharma practice, we're just thinking about our own Dharma practice. Yeah, I want to gain realization. I'm tired of being in samsara. Yeah, I want to study this. I want to meditate on that. Yeah. And we get, again, self-focused. Yeah, just on ourselves, on my Dharma practice. And that's why, Samantabhadra reminding Sudana, look, when you've taken the Bodhisattva vow, your Dharma practice is not to be done just for you alone. It's to be done for the benefit of every single living being, as far as space. Yeah. So this is important for us to remember in our Dharma practice. Okay. It's so that we can then gain the attainments and realizations and go out and share the Dharma with other people. Okay. Very important. It's not just about me, I, my, and mine. Yeah, it's about sharing the Dharma. And if we look at this situation and why it's important, aren't you happy about the fact that other people have shared the Dharma with you? Yeah. And that they went through whatever they went through to be able to share the Dharma with you. Yeah. My teachers are mostly Tibetans who are refugees. Yeah, they had to flee Tibet and become refugees. And when I first met my teachers, they came to the U.S. Yeah, and I thought, my goodness, yeah, this long flight from Asia to the U.S. And then they travel around and they don't speak fluent English, but they're in the process of learning it. So it's you get used to some kind of English that you're not used to. Yeah, because they're learning it. And I thought, they could have stayed with their own Tibetan communities. There was no need for them to come to the West. to teach us heathens. Okay, because from a Buddhist viewpoint, worldly society is the society of barbarians. Yeah, you don't like being called a barbarian, do you? But when we learn about the Dharma and we begin to have some feeling of how mistaken our view is, yeah, how even our senses don't tell us the truth. And needless to say, our opinions aren't always truthful either. Yeah. That, they gave up their comfortable, their life with other Tibetans where they knew the culture to come to the West where people never heard of Buddhism, where people, just have all sorts of wrong ideas. Okay. So I really appreciate that. If they didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. Yeah. And I definitely would have had a lower rebirth because I wouldn't have known anything about the Dharma. Okay, so Samantabhadra then makes 10 vows about leading to Buddhahood. And then he recites this prayer of extraordinary aspirations that summarizes all the Bodhisattva deeds. So what is an aspiration? Okay, so in Mahayana Buddhism, we make a lot of aspirations. We started out the evening making the aspiration to become a Buddha, making the aspiration to lead each and every sentient being to Buddhahood. Wow. Yeah, little old me do that? Come on. Yeah. Then why in the world am I making such a huge aspiration if I'm just little old me? Yeah. It's because we all have the Buddha nature, the Buddha potential. Yeah. And because we direct our practice by having an aspiration. Yeah. So much in our life we do because we have the aspiration to attain something or to do something. Okay. So aspirations are very important. Now somebody could say, yeah, but aspirations, they're cheap. You can aspire for a lot of things while you're just sitting there and not fulfill any of your aspirations. That's true. Okay. However, yeah, with the Bodhisattva aspiration and the fact that we have the Buddha nature, we one day in the future will be able to fulfill our aspirations. And the thing is, if we don't aspire, we will never get there. Okay. If we don't aspire to become a Buddha, then we won't practice the path. We won't create the causes. And without doing that, we won't become Buddhists. So the aspiration is actually critically important. Yeah. And you can see even little kids make aspirations. I want to be a teacher. I want to be, a fireman. Whatever kids, I want to be an astronaut. So kids, they're this big. They make aspirations. Yeah, it enlarges their perspective. And so too, in this prayer, this aspiration prayer, we're making really outlandish aspirations. Okay. So, and also, so our motivation is an aspiration. Yeah. Our dedication at the end of virtuous deeds is also like an aspiration. The difference between a motivation and, a dedication is the motivation. We haven't done anything yet. We're just aspiring in a motivation to do something. Yeah. The dedication that we do at the end, aspires that all the merit we created the result of all the merit we created by doing whatever Dharma practice we did would ripen in the enlightenment, the awakening of each and every sentient being, that it would ripen in the long lives of our teachers, that it would ripen in every sentient being encountering good teachers and studying with and practicing the path. It ripens. We aspire that our merit ripens. I have the hiccups again. That it ripens in the existence of the Dharma, that the Dharma doesn't just wither and go out of existence. Okay, so these aspirations are very, very important. And so we may start out with an intention or a wish, an intention. Yeah, that when it gets stronger, it becomes an aspiration. When that gets stronger, it becomes an action. Yeah. And when after the action, then we dedicate. Okay. And so sometimes we talk about the vows of the different Buddhas. Yeah. And so a vow is a kind of aspiration. Yeah. So, we know that all the Buddhas have so many vows. Yeah. Amitabha, was able to establish the Pure Land of Sukhavati because of an aspiration and a vow. Okay. Same with Medicine Buddha. Same with, all the different Buddhas. Okay. So let me just read out the 10 aspirations that Samantabhadra made. So to pay homage to and respect all Buddhas. Yeah. We do a little bit of that now. Maybe not all Buddhas. Yeah. Maybe we rush through our prayers and our paying homage is a little bit rushed. Yeah. But we do it. Okay, second one is to praise all the Tathagatas. Tathagata is just a synonym for Buddha. The third aspiration Samantabhadra made was to make vast offerings to them. Yeah, offerings. My teacher talks about the sky full of offerings. Yeah, so incredible vast offerings. What do we offer? Well, some pineapples, some Chinese pears, a big watermelon, some oranges, and some apples. Okay, that's a start. That's a good start. Yeah, it isn't just one apple. Yeah, it's, a lot of fruit. Yeah, and there's light offerings. Yeah, and there's an incense offering. Yeah. So here we're starting to do that. Our offerings are not vast; they don't fill the whole sky. Okay, but we're doing something. The fourth aspiration of Samantabhadra was to confess and make amends for all the non-virtuous actions we've done and all the transgressions of precepts. Mm-hmm. Do you transgress precepts? Yeah. How many of you have precepts? How many of you have taken the 5 lay precepts? Oh, very good. How many of you have taken the Bodhisattva precepts? Also very good. Yeah. So precepts are a wonderful way to direct our life. When we get confused and we don't know what to do or what decision to make, or we don't understand what's going on, it's really helpful to read our precepts, because our precepts give us direction in life. Yeah. When you have the 5 lay precepts, yeah, you might be mad at somebody, but you read the precepts. Yeah. And one of the precepts is about not lying. Yeah. Which, also implies not uttering divisive words, not gossiping, not yelling and screaming and using harsh words. Yeah. So it's good, to know that we've made a commitment to try not to do harmful things. Yeah. But do you accidentally on purpose tell lies sometimes? Yeah. Itty bitty lies. Yeah. Right. Politicians tell horrible lies. At least the American ones do. Singapore seems a little bit less corrupt. Yeah. Politicians, lies. Yeah. But my lies, my lies are not so bad. My lies are just white lies. Yeah. I did something that I don't feel good about doing, and I don't want anybody else to know about it, because then my reputation will go down. So these kind of lies, for example, we need to confess them and make amends for them. Yeah. How about stealing? Do you ever borrow things and not return them? You borrow even, $5, $10 from a friend, and then you forget to return it. And that's taking what hasn't been freely given to us. Yeah, the owner is expecting that we repay them. Okay. Do you ever clock in more hours in work, or write when you have to write the hours that you work? Do you ever write more than you actually worked? You worked 7 hours, but you write, I worked 8. Oh, everybody's looking somewhere else. Yeah. Okay. So these kinds of things, if we get paid for work we didn't do, that's stealing. Okay. So, the precepts guide our lives, but we aren't always so attentive to what we're thinking and what our motivations are. And so sometimes we do these actions, and then afterwards we go, oh, what did I do? I just lied. I just stole something. Yeah, I just screamed at somebody and called them names. Ugh, I don't feel good about that. So this is why there's the whole practice of confession. Yeah, We open it up, we get it off our chest. We're not hiding it. We're not feeling ashamed. We're just stating what we did that we regret. And we're trying to understand, what did I do? What was going on in my mind that I did that? Yeah. Because really, I don't really want to act that way. What was going on that I did that? And so when we make mistakes, it's an opportunity to learn a lot. Yeah, we really learn a lot by making mistakes. If we stop and think about them and confess them, and in terms of broken precepts, we restore our precepts. Okay, so this is why on new and full moon days, the Sangha, the monastics, we do a ceremony called the Posada to confess and restore our precepts. Yeah, and it's a beautiful ceremony, and afterwards you just feel so good because you've gotten everything off your chest and you've made amends where you need to. Okay, so that's the fourth of the four. It's the fourth of the 10 aspirations. Okay, the fifth one is to rejoice in the merit and virtue of all the Buddhas and all the sentient beings. So this is the antidote to jealousy. It's really important. Yeah. And then the sixth one is to request the Buddhas to turn the Dharma wheel. And for me personally, this is of the 10, one of the ones that I really focus on a lot. Yeah, because I want to receive teachings, because I know that there's no way for me to progress if I don't hear the teachings of the Buddha. If I just invent my own path to awakening, what's going to happen to me? No realizations. Nothing good will come out of that. But if I can hear the Buddha's teachings and then apply them in my life, so it's so important. And that's why all of you coming and hearing the teachings live, you're not watching them online. Watching teachings online is good if you live far away and you can't get to the place where the teachings are being given. Or you're sick, so you can't go. But if you're able, come to live teachings. It makes a huge difference in your practice to hear teachings from a live person, not just watch them on the screen. And also, when you're with a live person, you're paying more attention. When you watch a teaching online, okay, this part's not so interesting. I think I'll get up and go make myself a cup of tea, get a snack, take a little nap until the teacher says something that's interesting. Or your pet dog comes and wants to sit on your lap. Or your child or your grandchild is crying and you have to take care of them. So when all that can be pretty distracting. When you come and hear live teachings, you've got to pay attention. Because you know that the teacher is looking. And they know if you're falling asleep. I always fall asleep when I'm in the front row and my teacher sees me. Very embarrassing. Yeah. But it makes me try and perk up more. Okay, so that's the sixth one, requesting teachings. Seventh is entreating the Buddhas to remain in the world. Yeah, so that there's always a wheel-turning Buddha, so that our teachers who represent the Buddhas, in teaching us, so that they live long lives. Okay, the eighth one is the aspiration to continually follow the Buddha's teachings by studying, contemplating, and meditating on them. This also, is one of the ones that I really focus on, to aspire to never be separated from the teachings. In my mind, in my life, to never be separated from them, always have access to the teachings, but in my mind, never to be separated from the teachings. Unfortunately, my mind is separated from the teachings a lot. I start looking at this and that, and thinking about what this person's doing, what that person's doing. Lots of distractions. But at least making that aspiration to continually follow the Buddha's teachings, to continually receive teachings, think about them, discuss them with other people, meditate on them. Making that aspiration is important. Okay, the ninth aspiration is to live harmoniously with sentient beings and to respond to them according to their needs. Okay, live harmoniously with sentient beings. What interferes with our living harmoniously with others? The worldly person says, I know why I can't live harmoniously with others, because this person doesn't do their work properly, and that person insults me, and this person doesn't like me. We always point the finger outwards. Okay, why am I unhappy? It's something, the room is too hot, the room is too cold. Yeah. My boss expects too much. My boss should give me a promotion and with more pay. We're always looking outside for happiness. Yeah. And because we have so much attachment to the things that we think will bring us happiness, we then get involved in all sorts of negative actions to get what we want. Because our worldly mantra is, I want what I want when I want it. I want what I want when I want it. Yeah? And the universe better give it to me. Why? Because I am special. Yeah? So that thought that we are special is one of the reasons, a big reason, why we don't live harmoniously with other people. And it's not just because they think they're special. It's because we think we're special. Okay, my happiness is more important than anybody else's. My problems are more severe than anybody else's. Yeah. What do you think about all day? Yeah. What you want and your problems. Yeah. Do you ever think about what other people might like and other people's problems? No, that's quite boring. Yeah. Other people's problems, So boring. Yeah? Somebody comes over to tell you their problem. They go on and on and on. You know, you're yawning. It's like, why don't you be quiet already? But then when it's my turn to tell my friend my problems, oh, I'm wide awake and I give them the big version of my problems, not a little summary. I take as much time as I can because my problems are important. And so when you do retreat, when you're chanting Namo Amitofo, do you get distracted? Hello? Yeah, you get distracted. What do you get distracted by? Either craving for what you want or being upset by your problems. Those are the two major distractions. Do you get upset because of other people's problems? No. Their problems, who cares? My problems are serious. Something's a little bit off balance, isn't it? Yeah. So this ninth, and so this is, why we don't live harmoniously with other people. Yeah. So this ninth one is to live harmoniously and respond to people according to their needs. Yeah. So we would like everybody to be interested in the Dharma and to learn the Dharma. Yeah. Does that mean that we go out and we stand on the street corner and we stop everybody and start teaching the Dharma to them? Hello? No, we do not do that. Okay. Do we try, just to convert everybody we see and threaten them with hell if they don't believe us? No, we don't do that either. Okay. What do? We try and understand that other person. Yeah. We want to help them. We have to understand them. Yeah. How do they think? What do they need to hear at this time? What would help them in their life? Yeah. So we have to think about this and develop some kind of sensitivity, so that we could meet people where they are. Yeah. And so that's why the Buddha gave such a vast array of teachings. Yeah. And why he gave the teachings sometimes in different orders, and sometimes he said one thing to one group, one thing to another thing to another group, because the Buddha had that sensitivity, and could really meet people where they're at. Okay. So, for example, if somebody comes and tells you their problem, and you can see that, part of their problem is coming from them. Yeah. When they tell you their problem, they're not telling you that part of the problem's from them. They're telling you the problem is outside. Yeah. So is the first thing you say to them going to be, what you're doing is wrong? Is that the right thing to say to somebody? No, they're not going to listen to the next thing you say, because people don't like being told they're wrong. Okay. So you need, maybe to offer some empathy, to ask some questions, something like that. Sometimes you may even need to go see a movie with somebody just to pull them out of all their rumination. Okay. So really having a sensitivity to what people need. It's like when you discipline a child, okay? If you say to a child, their clothes, they left all their clothes all over the place. Their room is a mess. Yeah. If you say to the child, you are such a filthy pig, you don't pick up after yourself. Who do you think I am? You're a slave. Yeah, you're bad. You're lazy. Okay. If you talk like that to a child, are you going to get through to them? They may fear you. They may fear you and do what you say, but they're not really learning. Yeah, because you haven't even told them what it is that you don't like that they're doing and what they need to do. And you haven't found out, why they're doing that. Okay? So with children, you need to say, you say you're a bad kid. What does that mean to a child? You may say it referring to a specific action they did, but they're hearing that they are a bad person. And that's affecting their self-image and their self-confidence. Okay. So, don't say you're bad. The person is not bad. The action is mistaken, but the person is not bad. Okay. So you need to say to the child, when you haven't put your things away and there's things all over the floor, it's difficult for me to walk there. And I might step on one of your toys and break it. So please clean up your room. Then the child knows, oh, this is what they want me to do. Okay. And then when they do it, you say, thank you, and not just thank you for cleaning up your room. It really helps everybody else in the family be able to walk around. Okay, then the child has some good information. If you just say you're bad and you're good, it doesn't give them any information. Okay, so developing this kind of sensitivity about, how to talk to people. Yeah. And then the 10th aspiration of Samantabhadra is to dedicate all the merit so that all sentient beings may attain Buddhahood. Okay, let's start looking at the prayer itself, the aspiration prayer itself. Okay, here it is. Okay. So I bow down to the youthful Arya Manjushri. That is the translator paying homage to Manjushri and also making the commitment to translate the whole aspiration prayer. So first verse. You lion amongst humans, gone to freedom in the present, past, and future, in the worlds of 10 directions, to all of you, with body, speech, and sincere mind, I bow down. So the Buddhas are called lions because in the jungle, the lion is the king. Yeah. So among human beings, the Buddha is the one who knows the truth. the Buddha knows reality. So we're addressing all the Buddhas, not just Shakyamuni Buddha, but all the Buddhas who have attained liberation in the present, in the past, in the future. Yeah. So all of you will one day be Buddhas. When I recite this, I'm also talking about the Buddhas that you're going to become. Okay, so to all of you with body, speech, and sincere mind. Body, we bow down. Speech, we praise them. Sincere mind, we think of their qualities and respect them. Okay. With the energy, next verse, with the energy of aspiration for the Bodhisattva way, with a sense of deep respect, and with as many bodies as atoms of the world, to you, all you Buddhas visualize before me, I bow down. Okay? So I'm doing this with the energy of aspiration to practice the Bodhisattva path. I have a sense of deep respect for the Bodhisattvas, for the Buddhas. And how am I going to show that respect? With as many bodies as atoms of the world. Okay. Can you count how many atoms? Let's just take your fingertip. Can you count the atoms on your fingertip? Yeah. We don't even know the number of atoms on our fingertips is like huge, we can't even conceive of that number. Yeah. But we're thinking that we are going to emanate bodies, that are as numerous as all the atoms, not just on my fingertip, not just on my hand, but in the whole entire universe. We imagine with all those bodies. You see what I mean by how this expands your mind? Yeah. So it's like every atom of everything, even in this room, is like inconceivable. But with all those bodies, the same number, to all the Buddhas who are also countless, all those bodies, I'm going to bow down and show my respect to them. Okay. So it's not just little old me, who can't bend down all the way anymore. Stiff. Yeah. It's, you imagine, wow, this is amazing. I have so many bodies, countless bodies, and I'm bowing down to countless Buddhas. Okay. And I'm imagining all those Buddhas around me. So we're sitting here in this room. There's already so many Buddhas. If you look on the poles, 2, 4, 6, there's 7 across each line. And then how many lines? Too many to count. Yeah. And all those statues, all the statues on the wall. Yeah. So imagine just those were live Buddhas, and you're bowing to all of them. But we're actually thinking countless. Okay, 3rd verse. On every atom are Buddhas numberless as atoms. Each amidst a host of bodhisattvas. And I am confident the sphere of all phenomena is entirely filled with Buddhas in this way. Okay, so on all these countless atoms, on each one are a countless number of Buddhas. And surrounding each one of these countless Buddhas, that is on each of the countless atoms, are countless bodhisattvas receiving teachings. Can you imagine that? Yeah. I mean, it's like, whoa, it's very hard to imagine. But just, so you see what I mean about it pulls us out of my problems now. And it introduces us to a world full of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Yeah. Not a world full of Donald Trumps, not a world full of tariffs, not a world full of, climate problems. Yeah. But it introduces us to a whole world, yeah, filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Yeah. Now, it's hard to imagine this, yeah. But some of you may have seen the same film I saw. I saw this many years ago, okay? And it was a little clip that it starts out of two people sitting in a rowboat on a lake. Yeah? Or, no, I'm sorry. Two people sitting on a blanket having a picnic in a park. Okay? Average thing. Okay, we see that. We can see, yes, trees, grass, people, food. We can see all of that. Okay. Now, in the clip, it goes in, yeah, and starts focusing, from that whole scene. It starts going in, and it makes the two people sitting on the blanket the whole screen. It makes them big, okay, on the screen. Then it focuses more on one of the people. Then it focuses more on the hand of one of the people. Then it focuses on a finger, then on a fingernail, then on, maybe a cell in the finger. Then it starts imagining getting into smaller and smaller parts so that eventually you can see every atom. Yeah, it's like zooming in. You know what zooming in is on your computer. Yeah. So when you zoom in, what was very small to you initially then becomes something that you can see. So it's all a matter of perspective. What is big, what is small, depends on your perspective. Yeah. And this film really shows that. After it gets down to the molecular and atomic level, then it zooms back up, making it bigger to the fingernail, the finger, the hand, the person, the two people on the blanket, the whole scene. And then that whole scene becomes, one tiny thing as you get the whole park around them and the whole city around them and the whole state around them. And then, the whole world. And then, our world seems enormous from our present perspective. But science tells us that world is like a tiny grain of sand compared to, the size of the moon or the size of the sun, let alone the size of the solar system, the size of the universe. So, the film then goes back. So now what we thought was enormous, we can now see because it looks smaller. Okay. So if you think like this, it becomes much easier to think of on every atom, there is a Buddha surrounded. On every atom are infinite Buddhas surrounded by countless Buddhas who are surrounded by, innumerable bodhisattvas. Yeah. If we had that kind of way of seeing things, so that such small things could look big to us, then we could see all of that. If we had a bigger mind where we could go back, then we could see the whole universe. And know that in this whole universe, there are atoms with Buddhas sitting on them, countless Buddhas sitting on them, surrounded by countless bodhisattvas. So this is introducing us to a huge kind of way of looking at things. To come out of our own shell, come out of just thinking about my problem now. And just, there's Buddhas all around. Okay. I just looked at the clock. It's time to end. So, we did 1, 2, 3, 4 verses. No. Yeah, 4 verses. Well, it's a start.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Venerable. Thank you, Venerable, for your insight and precious teachings. Now we open the floor for questions.
Hi, Venerable. My question is, because you shared about the power of aspirations. So how do we kind of differentiate that than like having like the unrealistic expectations on yourself? Yeah, how do you aspire and not put like pressure on yourself? Like how does it work?
You mean your concern is that your aspirations will be
pressurizing, perhaps, or put a lot of expectations in a sense?
No expectation. Expectations are a setup for disappointment because our expectations, we're imagining having all the causes and conditions of something when we don't have them. And then we get disappointed when something we want doesn't happen or come about. So it's good to have big aspirations, try and do big things, but not expect ourselves to do them. Okay? Yeah, I know that sounds hard, but it's the only realistic way to go about it. If let's say I aspire to learn Chinese, but I expect to do it by tomorrow morning, what's going to happen? I aspire to learn Chinese. I wake up tomorrow morning. Am I going to know how to speak Chinese? Forget it. I'm still left with saying ni hao. Did I even say it right? Yeah. So, so aspire big, do what we can, but always be satisfied with whatever the results are, because we don't have control over all the causes and conditions. And to produce any result, every single cause, every single condition needs to be present. Okay?